nothing really objectionable in the bill, but it doesn't do much. It's a very timid approach to the issue. I have greater hopes, frankly, from the work that the Board of Education and the special group that it's impaneled to look at school districts will be able to present to us. There probably will be some legislators who wave the bill and say, look at the progress we've made toward controlling education costs and improving the quality of education and consolidating districts, to which we should all say that's ridiculous. The bill doesn't do much of anything, and I still believe that the next legislature and governor will be confronted with a shortfall in the education fund that is around $100 million.
Is there a single greatest explanation for why the legislature has not done more in your view?
I guess there are a couple, Stuart. Obviously, the education lobby has been quite strong in influencing the legislature in recent years to embrace the status quo. Works for them. Can't paint everyone with a broad brush, because there are a lot of different points of view. I've talked to a lot of superintendents of schools who believe strongly that we need to move in the area of school consolidation more aggressively, because these are the folks who go to 12 meetings a week or whatever it is with all their school boards and see the lack of economy of scale, the lack of efficiency in the districts that they've been responsible for. We have a fast turnover of superintendents in Vermont, and so a lot of them welcome this kind of reform. But it's always easier to defend the status quo, and I think we've seen that. You've heard me cite statistics. We have more school directors than math teachers in Vermont. We have school boards with no schools. We have a system where, according to Bill Gates, Benjamin Franklin would recognize today, because it hasn't changed much in 200 years. We've got to get serious about how we provide education in an increasingly global economy. China graduates more English-speaking engineers every year than the United States. It's not just a Vermont problem, but our cost here is greater than it is in most other places. And we've got to gain that economy of scale and improve opportunities for our kids, and I don't see much of that happening. The other factor, I think, is the income sensitivity program. It's become so extensive. About 70% of our residential property taxpayers now enjoying that benefit, and that provides an impediment to reform. We've got to bring property taxes down because they're driving people out. But if the subsidy is so extensive, it's hard to accomplish that. So I think there are a couple of factors.
It's a little bit of a contradiction right there. I mean, the reason that the property taxes are down is because of that. I mean, if you do away with that, the property taxes go up for people. I'm always confused when you make those two arguments at the same time.
Well, a couple of factors. First, remember that the income sensitivity benefit is only on the homestead, and a lot of people, I think, figure that non-residential property is some rich out-of-stater who has a mega mansion as a second home. But in fact, 71% of non-residential property is owned by Vermonters. It's extra acreage, it's a hunting camp, it's some farmland perhaps, it's a small business. So the cost is being shifted from folks like that, to folks like that, from a large number of property taxpayers. And businesses, the folks who are employing Vermonters, are looking at that as a cost of doing business and deciding that, among other things, it's too onerous. I think the best example, and you've heard me use it before, is Burton. The CEO of Burton Snowboards says property taxes, among other things, you mentioned workers' comp and health insurance costs, but when property taxes are so great that they can't sell a snowboard for what it costs to make them in Vermont, and moving their production capabilities somewhere else, that's a problem. And we've got to get more lawmakers to understand that that's a problem, to take some action. And H.66 is a meaningless step to pretend to have done something and doesn't accomplish a thing.